The moment I pulled into my driveway after lunch, I knew something was wrong. The wide double doors of my workshop stood open, and there, parked dead center between my metal working stations, sat a pristine white Lexus SUV. The vanity plate read HOA 1, and I didn't need 3 guesses to know who it belonged to. Patricia Holloway had done it again, but this time she'd gone too far. I walked calmly to my toolbox, ignoring the smug smile I could practically feel radiating from her kitchen window next door. My hands found the welding mask and torch with practiced ease. No more warnings, no more polite conversations. This time, Patricia was about to learn what happened when you pushed a metal worker past his breaking point. The acetylene torch sparked to life with a satisfying hiss. By the time Patricia noticed what I was doing, I'd already sealed a first door shut with a perfect beat of molten steel. Her shriek echoed across the neighborhood, but I just adjusted my mask and moved to the next door. 20 minutes later, my workshop was a fortress. Her $60,000 vehicle entombed inside, like a modern art installation. I tossed my gear in my truck and headed for the airport. My vacation to Costa Rica couldn't have been timed better. Let me back up and explain how we got here. My name is David Brennan, and I've been a professional metal worker for 15 years. 2 years ago, I finally saved enough to build my dream workshop behind my house in Pine Ridge Estates. It was my sanctuary, a place where I could create custom pieces for clients and lose myself in the art of shaping steel. The structure was perfectly legal, properly permitted, and designed to complement the neighborhood aesthetic with cedar siding and architectural details that matched my home. Enter Patricia Holloway, recently elected HOA chair after a campaign built on promises to restore order and property values. Patricia was the kind of person who measured grass height with a ruler and sent violation notices for mailboxes that were one shade off the approved color palette. Within a week of taking office, she decided my workshop was an eyesore that needed to go. The harassment started small. Official-looking notices appeared on my door claiming the structure violated covenants that didn't exist. When I provided copies of my permits and HOA approval from 2 years prior, she pivoted to complaints about noise, even though I only worked during approved hours and used sound dampening materials in the construction. Then came the parking incidents. Patricia would park her Lexus directly in front of my workshop doors, claiming she was inspecting potential violations. The first time, I asked her politely to move. The second time, I called the HOA board, who mumbled something about her having authority to investigate complaints. By the 5th time, I was documenting everything with security cameras I installed around the property. The situation deteriorated rapidly. Patricia began spreading rumors at HOA meetings that I was running an illegal business, creating fire hazards, and lowering property values. She filed false complaints with the city, each one requiring me to take time off work to meet with inspectors, who inevitably found nothing wrong. She recruited her friend Sandra Morrison to corroborate fabricated noise complaints, and together they made my life miserable. The breaking point came on a Tuesday morning. I arrived at my workshop to find the doors not just blocked but wide open with Patricia's Lexus parked inside. She'd somehow gotten hold of my spare key, probably through the property management company or her sister worked. A laminated note on the dashboard proclaimed the space was being reclaimed as communal property pending HOA review. I took photos from every angle, making sure to capture her license plate and the note. Then I called my lawyer, who confirmed what I already knew. The workshop was on my property, built with proper permits, and Patricia had committed criminal trespassing and breaking and entering. But he also warned that pursuing charges would be a long, expensive process, and Patricia would likely face minimal consequences. That's when I decided on a different approach. If Patricia wanted to claim my workshop was communal property, I'd treat it like my property and secure it properly. I spent the next hour welding every entrance shut with surgical precision. The main double doors, the side entrance, even the windows, all sealed with beautiful, unbreakable welds that would make any metal worker proud. I made sure to leave small gaps for ventilation because I'm not a monster, just a man who'd reached his limit. Her precious Lexus wasn't going anywhere without serious demolition work. Before leaving for the airport, I did 3 things. I posted the security footage on the neighborhood Facebook page with a simple caption explaining that I'd secured my workshop against trespassers and would return in 2 weeks. I sent a certified letter to the HOA board notifying them that their chair had committed breaking and entering, I turned on the automatic sprinkler system from my lawn, knowing the spray would reach through those ventilation gaps I'd left. The vacation in Costa Rica was everything I'd hoped for. Pristine beaches, perfect weather, and spotty internet that I definitely didn't use to check the neighborhood. Facebook page exploding with comments, photos, and increasingly frantic posts from Patricia. According to my neighbor Tom Garrison, who kept me updated through messages, the scene at my house had become the talk of Pine Ridge Estates. Patricia's initial confidence had crumbled within hours. She'd called the police, who arrived to find her explaining how she'd broken into my workshop to park there illegally. The officers informed her that I had every right to secure my property and that she was lucky I hadn't pressed charges for trespassing. They couldn't force me to return from vacation to release her vehicle, and they certainly weren't going to damage my property to retrieve it. The HOA board held an emergency meeting where Patricia demanded they pay for industrial cutting equipment to free her car. Board member Robert Dalton pointed out that she'd acted without board approval and had likely exposed the HOA to significant legal liability. The motion to help her was voted down 5-1 with only Sandra supporting her. By day 3, the local news had picked up the story. HOA chair trapped in irony became the feel-good piece of the week, with reporters interviewing amused neighbors and legal experts who confirmed I'd done nothing wrong. Patricia hired a lawyer who sent me cease and desist letters that my attorney gleefully responded to with counter notices about her criminal trespassing. Tom's updates grew more entertaining by the day. Patricia had tried to hire metal workers to cut her car free, but everyone in the area had mysteriously become too busy after word spread through our professional network. She'd attempted to break the windows of her own vehicle to at least retrieve personal items, only to discover that getting out of a car inside a sealed building didn't solve the underlying problem. The social media posts evolved from outrage to mockery. Someone started a countdown clock for my return. Another neighbor created a bingo card of Patricia's daily meltdown activities, which included calls police again, threatens lawsuit, and screams at workshop. The teenagers in the neighborhood had started calling it the Lexus Memorial Art Gallery, and were taking selfies in front of my sealed workshop. 2 weeks passed in blissful tropical paradise. I caught up on welding magazines, tried new cocktails, and even got some design work done for upcoming commissions. The spa day was particularly relaxing, knowing that back home, Patricia's $60,000 status symbol was collecting dust and moisture in what she'd claimed was communal property. My return flight landed on a Saturday afternoon, perfectly timed for the neighborhood barbecue I'd announced before leaving. Tom had helped spread the word, and by the time I pulled into my driveway, half of Pine Ridge Estates had gathered with lawn chairs, coolers, and barely suppressed grins. Patricia stood at the edge of the crowd, her usually perfect appearance disheveled, dark circles under her eyes. Speaking to sleepless nights, I waved to the assembled crowd and made a show of inspecting my workshop's exterior, admiring the quality of the welds while Patricia trembled with rage. With theatrical flair, I fired up the cutting torch and began the process of unsealing my domain. The crowd watched in silence as I carefully cut through each weld, taking my time to ensure clean lines that could be easily repaired later. When the final cut was complete, I hauled open the doors to reveal Patricia's Lexus, now covered in a fine layer of dust and condensation. The interior windows were fogged, and I could see where she damaged the driver's side window in her desperate escape attempt. The tropical air freshener I'd hung from the rear view mirror before sealing everything was a nice touch. Filling the space with the scent of coconut, Patricia rushed forward, her face cycling through shades of red I'd previously only achieved with specialized metal patinas. She fumbled with her keys, started the engine, and began backing out, only to realize the battery was nearly dead from 2 weeks of interior lights she'd left on during her initial break-in. The engine sputtered and died halfway out of the workshop. The crowd's laughter started as a chuckle and built to a roar as Patricia had to sheepishly ask Tom for jumper cables. Even Sandra couldn't hide her smirk as we watched the former HOA terror struggle with basic automotive recovery. When the Lexus finally limped out of my workshop, Patricia couldn't meet anyone's eyes. Monday morning brought the final act of our drama. The HOA board called a special meeting where Patricia faced a vote of no confidence. The board president read a list of her violations, including misuse of authority, criminal trespassing, and exposing the association to legal liability. The vote was unanimous, even Sandra abstaining rather than supporting her friend. Patricia's resignation letter was submitted within the hour. By Wednesday, a for sale sign appeared in her yard. The legal bills from her failed attempt to sue me came to $18,000. According to court records, the repair bill for her Lexus, which needed a new battery, new window, and full detailing to remove the moisture damage, added another $3,000 to her expenses. Standing in my workshop that evening, I installed the final touch, a handcrafted steel sign that read, "Private Studio. Unauthorized parking will be professionally secured." The new HOA board approved it unanimously. As I welded it in place, I saw Patricia through her window, tacking boxes with a defeated posture of someone who'd learned an expensive lesson about respecting boundaries. She moved out 3 weeks later. The closing was handled by her realtor. Patricia, too embarrassed to show her face in the neighborhood where she'd become a cautionary tale. The new owners were a young couple who loved the artistic vibe of having a metalworker next door. They even commissioned a custom gate for their garden. The neighborhood has been peaceful ever since. The new HOA board focuses on actual community improvements rather than petty power trips. My workshop remains my sanctuary, now with reinforced steel doors that lock from the inside and security cameras covering every angle. And somewhere in another suburb, Patricia Holloway is hopefully thinking twice before parking where she doesn't belong. The $18,000 in legal fees she paid trying to sue me almost covered my Costa Rica vacation. Almost.